It was chaotic. We had no idea. I don't like it. No, none of us like it. It's unsafe.
People in a Southside neighborhood are reacting to protesters who mistook a drug bust in their neighborhood for an immigration raid.
Bizarre busts in Arizona. Dangerous drugs removed from a Phoenix car dealership and also from buffet-style pans filled with food in Pinal County.
Phoenix man accused of running a nationwide drug trafficking ring has pleaded guilty. Officials say Marcos Maneras Mendoza and his son were leaders of the Maneras drug ring that was based in Phoenix. The group imported millions of fentanyl pills.
Police arrested Eusebio Mendoza, the man they are calling the head of this operation. Mendoza was released from prison in 2012, serving time for a drug conviction.
Big drug bust. This is in northern Arizona. State troopers there seizing more than 550 pounds of happened during a traffic stop right on the I-40.
Morning, sir. Tell me your name, please. Matsamela Malloy.
Scottsdale police say 31-year-old Matsamela Zazu Malloy sold an 8-ball to an undercover cop twice this summer.
28 suspects were taken into custody today for drug trafficking, all part of Operation Southland.
At the arrest scene off 83rd Avenue and Thomas, police say they also found a pound of meth and several $1,000s in cash.
Tucson police. Search warrant. Anybody inside, you can come up with their hands up. I can see them now.
It's releasing body cam video showing the frantic moments leading to the recent arrest of 2 alleged drug dealers.
Investigators seized nearly 35,000 pills from several homes, more than $300,000 in cash, and a number of guns and vehicles.
New this morning, Phoenix police say they have dismantled an international drug trafficking network.
Yeah, this includes the indictment of 17 people tied to that drug ring.
Arizona's drug trade doesn't feel like random busts anymore. It feels like a moving supply chain. From Tucson's Midvale neighborhood to Phoenix area task forces building months-long and year-long cases, the pattern is the same. Investigators follow tips, surveillance, wiretaps, and traffic stop intel until they can hit stash houses, distribution hubs, and money routes all at once. And because Arizona sits on major corridors like I-10 and I-40, a single stop in Holbrook or Marana can expose loads meant for bigger markets, even Canada, while city cases in Phoenix, Avondale, and Scottsdale show how quickly local dealing can connect to transnational organizations and laundering networks.
A man accused of running a nationwide drug trafficking ring has pleaded guilty. Officials say Marcos Maneras Mendoza and his son were leaders of the Maneras drug ring that was based in Phoenix. The group imported millions of meth, cocaine from Mexico and then sold them across the U.S. A wiretap investigation by the FBI led to the discovery of the criminal enterprise, and in 2023, Maneras and his sons and 35 others were arrested. Maneras will be sentenced in December. He faces 20 years to life in prison and a fine of over $2 million.
Marcos Maneras Mendoza pleaded guilty to kingpin charges for leading the Phoenix-based Maneras drug trafficking organization, which operated nationwide. From September 2022 to November 2022, Marcos Maneras Mendoza obtained hundreds of pounds of meth, millions of fentanyl pills, and kilograms of Coca-Cola from a Mexican national drug supplier. The 55-year-old organized a network of distributors who redistributed drugs throughout the country, including Arizona, Washington, Minnesota, Kansas, Indiana, and western Pennsylvania, paying couriers to transport and deliver the shipments. Investigators say Maneras Mendoza's son, Maneras Jr., was the co-leader. He was also charged among 35 people through a second superseding indictment unsealed in January 2024. The investigation used a federal wiretap and found that Maneras Mendoza paid over $100,000 in proceeds from drug sales to couriers who transported funds into Mexico to promote the drug trafficking operation.
Midvale resident Maria Martinez describes the scene in her neighborhood last night as out of the ordinary. The Pinal County Sheriff's Office says they were executing a search warrant for a narcotics violation with the assistance of ICE officials. But tell us this was not an ICE raid. Sheriff Ross Teeple says the protesters' arrival hindered their investigation.
These individuals, the protesters, actually blocked a Pinal County Sheriff's Office tow truck from removing the suspect's vehicle from a criminal investigation.
Officials say many of these people were also at an earlier protest against ICE that turned violent, and when the protesters did show up in Midvale, neighbors told us the scene escalated as they assumed it was an ICE raid.
They were not listening, that the police kept telling them that this was a drug investigation and for them to back up, and they accused him of being ICE.
It's something Sheriff Teeple called, quote, idiotic.
These idiots came out and protested us getting 5 million pills off the streets, 32 pounds of cocaine off the streets, 22 pounds of methamphetamine.
A multi-agency drug enforcement operation in Tucson's Midvale area drew a crowd of protesters after people mistook the scene for an immigration ICE raid. Authorities said the operation was actually targeting drug trafficking, and the disruption happened while investigators were serving warrants. By the end of the action, law enforcement reported seizing more than 120 pounds of Fentanyl, along with significant amounts of meth and Coca-Cola. Hall officials described as a major hit to supply moving through the area.
From the outside, this looks like a typical body shop, but at closer glance, the DEA says they realized it was actually an illegal distribution center. When it comes to the drug trafficking network, the DEA calling Phoenix the central hub for the Sinaloa cartel to bring drugs in, repackage them, and ship them out. The DEA just arresting 3 men for suspected distribution. These pictures showing all that was seized from BSG Auto Sales near 35th Avenue and Indian School. Separate case, the Pinal County Sheriff's Office pulling over a driver for a traffic violation, which led to a search, with deputies spotting large buffet-style pans, then discovering pills hidden underneath the food. Sheriff Mark Lamb saying they will not stand for this.
The DEA highlighted 2 major Arizona drug cases that investigators said showed how Fentanyl and meth trafficking was escalating and how often guns show up alongside bulk narcotics. Authorities said the busts involved large quantities of drugs and firearms, and they framed the cases as part of a larger push to disrupt supply chains feeding the valley and other Arizona corridors. Investigators emphasized that these weren't personal use seizures, but distribution-level cases built through enforcement operations and interagency work, with charges expected to carry serious prison exposure depending on weights, priors, and weapons allegations.
And on this morning, when kids walked outside, they noticed this: police with guns drawn, crime scene tape closing off this home, and the people who were inside handcuffed. Police arrested Eusebio Mendoza, the man they are calling the head of this operation. Mendoza was released from prison in 2012, serving time for a drug conviction. Just months after his release, investigators say he came back on their radar.
Arizona DPS and the El Mirage Police Department served a raid/search warrant at a home investigators said was linked to drug sales. Authorities described it as a targeted enforcement move, meaning they weren't just responding to a single call, but acting on an investigation that built enough cause to hit the location and seize evidence.
These are the drugs that don't make it to your community, to your school, to your neighborhood, to your kids. These are their lives.
A mountain of pills, powder, cash. In November 2024, the agencies worked together to target an international drug ring and their distributors.
Arizona is not a great place to be a criminal. We, working together, are coming for you. We are tenacious, we are relentless, and we will not stop.
Thousands of hours of surveillance and hundreds of warrants, with 25 arrests made from cartel suppliers to local distributors. The source:
It's coming here to Phoenix as a hub because of our proximity to the border. From here, it is distributed to other parts of the country.
Operation Double Down was a 7-month operation aimed at identifying and intercepting people moving large quantities of drugs through the region. Authorities said the case uncovered a transnational criminal organization operating in the U.S. and Mexico that allegedly distributed illegal drugs and used money laundering methods to avoid detection. Investigators said the operation ran from April 2024 through November 2024, and that the Arizona Attorney General's office later secured arrest warrants for 25 individuals tied to the investigation. Officials said the results included major seizures: approximately 1.7 million suspected Fentanyl pills, over 26 kilograms of Fentanyl powder, just over 24 kilograms of Coca-Cola, 370.2 pounds of meth, and 13 pounds of H, along with nearly $210,000 in cash, 14 vehicles, and 28 firearms.
DPS troopers pulled over a driver of a tractor trailer near Holbrook for traffic violations. During that stop, DPS says troopers became suspicious. A search later turned up more than 500 pounds of hidden in produce. Investigators say the drugs had a street value anywhere from $16 to $22 million.
A routine traffic stop on eastbound Interstate 40 in Holbrook, Arizona turned into a major Coca-Cola seizure after an Arizona Department of Public Safety trooper pulled over a Volvo tractor trailer for civil traffic violations. DPS said the trooper noticed multiple indicators of criminal activity, which led to a search of the truck and trailer. Inside the trailer, investigators reported finding 553.8 pounds of Coca-Cola concealed within a load of produce, a concealment method often used to blend illegal shipments into normal commercial freight. DPS estimated the Coca-Cola's potential street value at up to $22.1 million. Authorities said the shipment was allegedly being moved from Salinas and Los Angeles, California, toward Canada, suggesting a long-haul trafficking route rather than a local delivery. The driver, identified in reporting as Amarjeet Singh Mathew, was arrested and booked on drug-related charges.
At the arrest scene off 83rd Avenue and Thomas, police say they also found a pound of meth and several $1,000s in cash. A search warrant to the man's home turned up more.
Officers stopped a 35-year-old man near 83rd Avenue and Thomas Road and reported finding about 10,000 fentanyl pills in his vehicle, along with about 1 pound of meth and thousands of dollars in cash. After that, investigators served a search warrant at the suspect's home and said the recovery jumped even higher. About 40,000 more fentanyl pills, about 50 pounds of meth, Coca-Cola, AR-15 style rifles, and tens of thousands of dollars in cash. Phoenix PD's Drug Enforcement Bureau said the combined haul was easily $100,000 plus in drug value and described the suspect as more of a mid-level dealer with stronger supply connections, not just a street-level seller.
3 people suspected of distributing across the West Valley. Investigators seized nearly 35,000 pills from several homes, more than $300,000 in cash, and a number of guns and vehicles.
Avondale police said 3 people were arrested in a West Valley drug bust tied to suspected distribution of Fentanyl pills. And investigators framed the case as part of the wider Fentanyl surge affecting communities across the Phoenix area, meaning the focus wasn't just a simple possession stop, but an effort to disrupt people they believed were moving pills into local neighborhoods. For fuller verified details like the suspects' names, exact charges, how many pills were seized, and whether it connected to a larger network, the most reliable next step is checking the Maricopa County Jail booking entries.
30 million people. That's how many people could die from the amount of fentanyl just seized here in Arizona.
It's a massive bust revealed today.
Investigators in the Phoenix area announced the results of what they described as a large-scale interagency narcotics investigation, saying they recovered an unusually large haul, roughly 3,000 pounds of meth, about 140 pounds of Fentanyl powder, 135 plus kilograms of Coca-Cola, and about 35 kilograms of H. The way agencies frame seizures at this scale is that it usually reflects a supply layer case, not just street possession, meaning the goal is to disrupt the people moving bulk product into the valley and the crews handling redistribution.
DPS troopers seized more than 600 pounds of illegal drugs during a series of traffic stops in southern Arizona. This happened over the weekend. That seizure includes 460 pounds of meth, almost 150 pounds of pills.
Arizona DPS said state troopers hit 3 separate traffic stops in southern Arizona within about 1 hour, and the stops turned into a major interdiction haul. According to DPS, troopers seized roughly 459 pounds of methamphetamine, 148 pounds of fentanyl pills, and 2.55 pounds of Coca-Cola, and 6 suspects were arrested on felony drug-related charges. DPS said the investigation indicated the load was being transported from southern Arizona to Phoenix, and they estimated the total street value at about $1.285 million. DPS also noted the Homeland Security Investigations Office assisted with the case. The
Boxes and boxes of round blue pills. Deadly round blue pills. In fact, 360 pounds of it. And it was all seized out of the valley 2 days ago.
The pills in front of you are death. That's what they are, and I think sometimes we need to speak that truth to one another.
Scottsdale police teamed up with the DEA to take down a drug trafficking operation in Arizona. The investigation started with uncovering a courier. Ultimately, about 1.7 million pills were seized, and they say about 700,000 lives were potentially saved.
Scottsdale police and federal partners announced what they described as a record fentanyl pill seizure for the valley after a multi-agency investigation uncovered nearly 1.7 million fentanyl pills hidden across storage units and homes. Scottsdale Police Chief Jeff Walther said the scale showed fentanyl wasn't being treated like a party drug on the street, it was being moved in bulk, like a business operation. Authorities said the case didn't stop at pills. Investigators also reported finding about 10 kilograms of fentanyl powder and about 1 pound of meth during the same enforcement push. Arizona Attorney General Mark Brnovich and the DEA used the press conference to frame the bust as part of a wider surge, with the DEA noting that in roughly the prior 2 months they had seized millions of pills, dozens of kilos of fentanyl powder, more than 35 firearms, and made 40+ arrests tied to fentanyl trafficking investigations across Arizona.
The bust happened at Desert Center on Monday. Border Patrol agents pulled over a car that was speeding, and in the back seat they saw a spare tire that didn't match the vehicle. So they looked into it. A canine sniffed out the drugs inside a gas tank. Agents found more than 60 packages floating inside.
Officials said a traffic stop about 51 miles west of the Arizona-California state line led to a major fentanyl seizure. Investigators reported the drugs were inside a vehicle traveling from California toward Arizona, with the total estimated value pegged at about $1 million. 2 people who were in the car were taken into custody, and the case was described publicly as a significant interdiction aimed at stopping a supply load before it reached the Arizona market.
New this morning, Phoenix police say they have dismantled an international drug trafficking network.
Yeah, this includes the indictment of 17 people tied to that drug ring. Dubbed Operation Night Owl, a team of Phoenix drug enforcement detectives and DEA agents were able to break up drug trafficking activities and dismantle stash houses and distribution areas in the Phoenix area.
Phoenix police and federal partners say Operation Night Owl was a nearly year-long drug and money laundering investigation aimed at international and U.S.-based suppliers distributors, with a focus on trafficking activity tied to organizations operating in Arizona and Mexico. Investigators said they worked with the Maricopa County Attorney's Office and coordinated with agencies in California, Colorado, Utah, and Nevada, putting in nearly 3,000 hours of surveillance and securing 200+ court orders or search warrants as the case built toward its enforcement phase. When the operation wrapped, authorities reported major seizures. About 2 million fentanyl pills, 46.3 pounds of fentanyl powder, 133 pounds of meth, 18.7 pounds of Coca-Cola, and 12.6 pounds of H. Police also said they seized 15 firearms, 12 vehicles, and about $75,000 in cash.
And local detectives thwarted a major drug shipment operation focused on trains here in the Tucson area. The Arizona Department of Public Safety says during the takedown, around 479 pounds of meth and over a pound of pink cocaine were seized. The estimated street value of the drugs is approximately $1.5 million.
Authorities in Tucson announced a major narcotics seizure they valued at roughly $1.5 million, involving meth and Coca-Cola. Investigators described it as a significant disruption because the amount recovered suggested distribution-level supply, not personal use. Officials said the case was part of a broader enforcement push targeting drug movement into and through the Tucson area, where traffickers can use major road corridors and quick cut-through routes to move product.
All right, Tucson police releasing a body cam video showing the frantic moments leading to the recent arrest of 2 alleged drug dealers. They say they arrested the 2 suspects after a drug investigation in the Stone and Fort Lowell area. Officers say they found an ounce of meth and nearly 200 pills on one dealer who was on parole. Police then served a search warrant at an apartment, and they found the second dealer after a short foot chase.
Tucson police say 2 people were arrested in a Midtown drug and weapons case. Investigators reported recovering illegal drugs and at least 1 firearm during the enforcement action, and said the arrests were tied to a larger effort to disrupt neighborhood-level trafficking. The suspects were booked while the case moved into the charging phase, where prosecutors typically determine the final counts based on lab testing, firearm status, and any prior felony history.
Scottsdale police say 31-year-old Matsamela Zazu Malloy sold an 8-ball to an undercover cop twice this summer. According to police paperwork, he was arrested during a traffic stop on August 13th.
Bond is set at $250,000, $250,000.
His roommate, 26-year-old Luke Asher McConnell, was arrested at their luxury Scottsdale apartment 2 hours later. Detectives found a tackle box full of drugs inside his bedroom.
Scottsdale police say a month-long investigation into drug sales in the Scottsdale area ended with the arrests of Matsamela Zazu Malloy and Luke Asher McConnell. Investigators said they believe Malloy was a major supplier of Coca-Cola and club drugs in the area, and that the case was built over time before officers moved in to make the arrests. In the public summaries released afterward, police described the outcome as a significant seizure tied to distribution rather than personal use, reporting about $34,000 worth of drugs recovered along with 3 firearms.
It's a great day in Arizona, especially the Phoenix area.
28 suspects were taken into custody today for drug trafficking, all part of Operation Southland.
And let's just be blunt on the terminology, they're gangs.
Gangs that originated in LA and spread to the valley.
Operation Southland was a multi-agency gang drug investigation run by Arizona DPS's JIDM Task Force in the Phoenix area. In DPS's own summary, detectives said it was a 5-month case that ended with a large enforcement day where 300-plus law enforcement and fire personnel executed 18 search warrants, leading to 31 arrests in the first phase. Investigators reported seizing 18 weapons, 17 high-end vehicles, about a quarter-pound of Coca-Cola, and roughly $42,000 during that initial hit. After the first wave, DPS said the case expanded into a bigger prosecution. More than 40 suspects were indicted, and officials described many of them as dangerous gang members. DPS also reported a key follow-up arrest. Detectives identified a top suspect and arrested him along with a bodyguard when they returned from California, seizing 16 pounds of high-grade hydroponic Mary at the time of arrest. A later search warrant at the suspect's residence, DPS said, turned up 5 more weapons, 3 more high-end vehicles, a money counter, and other gang indicia. An Arizona DPS state trooper stopped a Ford pickup traveling westbound on I-10 near milepost 231 in Marana. DPS said the stop led to the discovery of more than 34 pounds of Fentanyl pills hidden in the truck, and the driver Mario Quinones Osuna of Carruthers, California, was arrested on a charge of transportation of narcotic drugs for sale. DPS said that First Stop quickly opened a second door. Investigators obtained a search warrant for another vehicle connected to the case. During that search, troopers reported finding more Fentanyl pills along with about 8 pounds of meth, about 7 pounds of H, and an additional substance described in reporting as unknown. The second driver, Kevin Valdez, of New River, Arizona, was also arrested on transportation of narcotic drugs for sale. Altogether, DPS and local reporting pegged the combined haul at over $1.7 million in drugs, and DPS leadership used the case to spotlight how fentanyl pills were increasingly showing up on Arizona highways as part of larger trafficking routes moving product through the state. An Arizona multi-agency task force tracked 3 men in stolen pickup trucks after investigators said they were trying to bypass a border patrol checkpoint by driving through open desert near State Route 85 by Gila Bend. Authorities say the vehicles were stopped using spike strips and a search allegedly uncovered a massive load. About 3,500 plus pounds of Mary and roughly 220 plus pounds of meth, valued by investigators at around $1.7 to $2 million. After the stop, officials said the suspects ran into the desert but were quickly caught.
When U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of Arizona has announced the indictment of 22 individuals following a federal grand jury's return of a 70-count indictment. These individuals are accused of participating in a large-scale drug trafficking and firearms operation in South Phoenix. The charges include conspiracy to distribute and possession with intent to distribute both substances. Additional charges include illegal possession of firearms, with 8 defendants accused of being felons in possession of firearms. The investigation began in January 2020 when the Arizona Department of Public Safety identified a drug and firearms supplier in South Phoenix. In February 2021, the FBI's Violent Street Gang Task Force joined the effort, focusing on the Lindo Park Crips, a street gang involved in drug trafficking and illegal firearms activity. Over the course of the investigation, law enforcement officials seized substantial amounts of illegal substances and firearms, including 2,430 grams, 35,000 counterfeit pills suspected to contain Fentanyl, 8 Glock conversion devices, and 17 firearms. In June 2022, law enforcement executed over a dozen search warrants, leading to the seizure of additional ammunition, narcotics, and 62 firearms. The charges carry significant penalties. By dismantling operations like those of the Lindo Park Crips, authorities aim to reduce the distribution of deadly drugs, such as fentanyl, and prevent the proliferation of illegal firearms in the community. Operation Snake Eyes, a 6-week enforcement initiative, resulted in the arrest of 140 violent fugitives, including 51 gang members. The operation also led to the seizure of 131 firearms, $145,831 in cash, and 3,027 counterfeit Fentanyl pills, effectively removing dangerous drugs and weapons from Arizona streets. Phoenix Police Department Chief Jerry Williams commended the operation, stating, "I am proud of the men and women of the Phoenix Police Department for their dedication to our community. Investigations like these bring so many partners together to address common crime trends in each of our cities. Working with intelligence-driven information allows us to specifically target those individuals who are responsible for crimes which often result in violence." United States Attorney Michael Bailey echoed these sentiments, emphasizing the collaborative nature of the effort. The success of Operation Snake Eyes is a testament to the hard work and collaborative effort of our law enforcement partners. As prosecutors, we are proud to serve alongside these dedicated men and women, as well as our colleagues at the McCow, in seeking justice against gang members and violent offenders in our state. Operation Snake Eyes serves as a powerful example of what can be accomplished through cooperative law enforcement efforts, delivering a significant blow to gang activity and enhancing public safety in Arizona.
Charges. In February 2024, ICE Phoenix agents arrested Hugo Leonel Soto Moran, an unlawfully present Guatemalan national and validated Latin Kings member, during an Apache Junction operation. Soto Moran has 2 prior federal convictions out of Maryland: possession of an unregistered firearm, 2009, and conspiracy to participate in a racketeering enterprise, 2011. ICE Phoenix Field Office Director John Cantu said Soto Moran showed blatant disregard for U.S. immigration laws and posed a public safety risk. He was placed into removal proceedings under immigration law, not a new Arizona criminal case, with ICE emphasizing its focus on arresting non-citizens who pose the greatest threat to public safety.
When you line these cases up, Operation Double Down, Night Owl, Southland, the Tucson Seizures, the freeway interdictions, and the Phoenix Scottsdale neighborhood level takedowns, the headline isn't just pills, pounds, or cash. It's how often the same ingredients show up together: bulk Fentanyl, meth, guns, vehicles, and cash, with investigations built to prove distribution and organization, not just possession. Some stories are still at the arrest and indictment stage. Others include guilty pleas and kingpin admissions. But together they paint a clear picture. Arizona is both a destination and a transit lane, and enforcement is increasingly designed to break the pipeline at multiple points: the couriers, the stash locations, and the people coordinating the flow.